She never expected you to stay quiet. She walked out believing your world would collapse the moment she shut the door. That's what she counted on. A woman leaves with confidence because she imagines a man will fall apart without her. She believes he'll panic, chase, beg, bargain, bleed. She expects emotional chaos because that chaos proves she mattered. But when you didn't break, when you didn't run after her, when you didn't even question her choice, a cold wind moved through her chest. That was the first moment her story cracked. And that quiet crack is where regret begins. She thought she understood you. She judged you by the same patterns she saw in other men. Men who crumble when a woman withdraws affection. Men who fold when she starts throwing distance like knives. Men who give up their dignity to get a small piece of validation back. She believed you were the same. She counted on it the way a gambler counts on habits. In her mind, she was the prize. You were the one who should chase. But instead of running after her like she expected, you let her walk. That single act and your silence unsettled her more than any words ever could. Because silence holds power, more than arguments, more than explanations, more than emotional displays. Silence leaves her alone with the truth she never wanted to face. The moment you didn't react, she felt something she didn't know how to fight. Uncertainty. A woman often convinces herself that a man cannot survive without her. She feeds this belief to herself until it becomes comfort. Because when a woman walks away, she needs a story that makes her decision feel smart, safe, and superior. The story is simple. He wasn't enough. I can do better. He'll fall apart. I'll be fine. But your calm broke that story. Your stillness cut through the picture she painted of you. She expected fire from you, anger, pleading, outbursts. Instead, she met stone. And stone is harder to walk away from than flames. You didn't block her. You didn't text her. You didn't argue. You didn't explain your worth. You simply stepped back and built distance. Men move forward quietly. Women notice loudly. The moment she saw you not fighting for her, she felt something she never admits out loud. She lost control. Control is the core of female confidence in relationships. When she thinks she can predict you, she feels secure. When she thinks she knows your reactions, she feels superior. But a man who refuses to play the expected role becomes somebody she can't measure. And what a woman can't measure, she eventually fears. She starts replaying the last conversation. Not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. The absence of desperation bothers her. The lack of emotional collapse confuses her. Women read silence like men read danger. They don't ignore it. They don't shrug it off. They analyze it. They dissect it. They create stories to explain it. And all of those stories lead her to one haunting possibility. Maybe she wasn't as important as she believed. Maybe you were stronger than she assumed. Maybe she made a mistake. She doesn't tell her friends the whole truth. She acts confident around them, pretending she's relieved or finally free. But deep down, when a woman chooses to leave, she secretly checks to see if the man she left is collapsing. It's not cruelty, it's biology. Women are drawn to strength and repelled by weakness. She wanted to see weakness in you to reassure herself. But instead she found calm. Calm is masculine, calm is powerful. Calm is the sign of a man who isn't ruled by any woman. And in her heart, that calm shakes her more than any heartbreak could shake you. Days pass. She expects the pain to hit you like a storm. She expects the guilt to break you in the middle of the night. She expects you to remember her smile and crumble. But none of that happens. Because you already learned something most men never understand. When a woman leaves, your reaction becomes her proof. If you chase, she sees herself as above you. If you collapse, she sees herself as correct. But if you stand steady, she feels something she can't control. Doubt. Doubt grows in silence. It eats through confidence like rust on metal. And every hour you remain silent, that doubt gets stronger. Your life continues. You go to work. You breathe, you walk. You sleep, you don't post sad stories, you don't send long messages, you don't try to understand what really happened. Men who stay rooted scare women who wanted to feel bigger by walking away. She wanted to feel like she was irreplaceable. But your behavior suggests the opposite. Your stillness becomes a mirror she hates looking into. Instead of seeing herself as the woman who was too good for you, she starts seeing herself as the woman who overestimated her value. She tells herself you're cold. She tells herself you don't care. She tells herself she deserves more. But late at night, her mind betrays her. That's when the truth creeps in. A woman doesn't regret losing a man because of the breakup itself. She regrets losing him when she sees the life he builds after her departure. And she sees the first signs in you. The discipline returning to your voice, the strength returning to your walk, the sharpness returning to your eyes. Women sense male growth long before it becomes visible, and she knows you're growing. She knows your silence isn't weakness, it's a beginning. Then comes the moment she never expected. She wonders if you ever really needed her at all. This is where regret begins to grow roots. A woman expects a man to collapse because that collapse makes her feel like she mattered. But when you don't collapse, she's forced to confront the truth. Maybe she lost a man other women would want. Maybe she left someone rare. Maybe she walked away from the one man who could live without her. Women regret losing men who don't make them the center of their world, because those men don't break, don't beg, and don't bend. They rebuild. And in rebuilding, they become stronger than she ever remembered. She begins to notice the subtle shifts in your world. Photos from trips you never mentioned, friends' stories about nights out she wasn't invited to, new routines you've quietly established. Each detail is a reminder she no longer has access, a silent announcement that your life thrives without her. She thought leaving would create a vacuum she could occupy. Instead, the void she expected to control now fills with your presence in ways she cannot touch. The absence of chase is deafening, and it echoes louder than any words ever could. The more she watches from a distance, the more her mind spins. She recalls moments she dismissed, conversations she thought were insignificant. Every laugh she ignored, every insight she brushed off, becomes evidence in her internal trial. She begins to reconstruct your worth piece by piece in ways that scare her. The confidence she relied on to walk away starts to waver, replaced by the unsettling realization that perhaps her decision wasn't as flawless as she believed. Regret whispers. Growing louder each day, she observes you moving forward without her. Meanwhile, you focus on expansion. Your skills sharpen. Your projects succeed. Your social circle grows richer. She sees glimpses of this, sometimes by accident, sometimes through the careful cultivation of your own life. Each accomplishment, each moment of visible competence is a silent reminder that her departure did not weaken you. It freed you. Women feel regret most acutely when they witness a man thrive in ways they can no longer influence, in ways they believed only they could inspire. You embody that reality now. The subtlety of your transformation works against her expectations. She anticipated anger, begging, and emotional vulnerability. Instead, you demonstrate calm mastery. You handle challenges without seeking her validation. You build momentum that she cannot disrupt. She begins to feel the sting of her own misjudgment, not through confrontation, but through observation. Each day you remain unaffected. Each hour you grow stronger. Her self-assuredness falters. Doubt becomes a constant companion. She starts to question the stories she told herself. The narrative that she deserved better no longer fits the reality she sees. She thought leaving would elevate her, yet she feels diminished. The irony gnaws at her. By pursuing her own freedom, she handed you the very power she hoped to retain. The very man she underestimated is now unreachable, thriving, and untethered. She didn't account for your independence, and this oversight becomes a psychological weight she can't ignore. The absence of reaction from you forces her to confront her ego. Women rarely expect a man to move on with dignity. They expect chaos, uncertainty, and visible pain. When none of that occurs, her assumptions crumble. She wonders if she misread everything, your affection, your patience, your strength. She wrestles with the idea that perhaps she wasn't the irreplaceable figure she imagined herself to be. That thought is venomous to her pride, and it seeps into every memory she revisits. You make no announcement of your transformation. No social media proclamations, no public displays. You simply continue your life with consistency and clarity. Every success is a testament, unspoken yet impossible to ignore. She sees it indirectly. Friends mentioning accomplishments, colleagues noticing improvements, casual remarks from strangers. Each acknowledgement confirms your trajectory, amplifying the contrast between her expectation and your reality. Regret takes root quietly where pride once stood unchallenged. She begins to notice your emotional stability in shared circles. Mutual friends remark on your calm, on how composed you are, on your growing confidence. Women perceive emotional equilibrium as strength, and strength as unattainable. She expected turmoil, a display that she could read and manipulate. Instead, she witnesses self-containment, resilience, and the ability to flourish despite her absence. Every interaction reinforces the narrative she fears most. She underestimated the man she left. The realization hits that your life is richer, fuller, and unbound by her choices. She experiences the paradox of regret. Leaving should have elevated her, but observing your independence diminishes her triumph. Each step you take forward without her is a lesson she cannot articulate. She becomes obsessed with measuring your worth against her own, and the scales tilt increasingly in your favor. The emotional control you exhibit becomes a mirror reflecting her miscalculations, and she cannot turn away. She begins to see the full picture, the life you've built without her influence. Each achievement, each personal milestone, silently reinforces that she is no longer central to your world. You move with purpose, surrounded by friends who add value, engaged in experiences that enrich your mind and body. Her absence doesn't create emptiness, it amplifies your freedom. And with every passing day, the clarity of her error sharpens. She realizes she didn't just leave a man. She left a life she cannot replicate or reclaim. The power of your detachment becomes undeniable. She expected desperation, displays of longing, perhaps even subtle attempts at reconciliation. When none appear, her assumptions collapse. Her mind races through scenarios, trying to justify the gap between expectation and reality. Every hypothetical she creates fails to match the truth. You are unaffected, thriving, emotionally independent. The cognitive dissonance grows intolerable. Regret does not need words. It lives in the tension between what she believed would happen and the reality she now witnesses. You expand your social proof deliberately but subtly. Travel photos, professional successes, nights out with friends, all curated to show growth, fulfillment, and abundance without implying revenge or need for validation. Each post, each shared moment constructs an undeniable narrative. Your life is moving forward, thriving, and improving. She cannot manipulate it, nor can she influence it. She only observes, powerless to affect the trajectory you control. Her pride battles against the evidence of her miscalculation, and the conflict festers. The subtle victories compound. She notes the women you interact with, not with jealousy, but with a creeping unease. The attention you command, the admiration you inspire, all indicate that she is no longer the pinnacle of your world. Each interaction is a quiet assertion of independence, a demonstration that your value is self-contained. Her mind begins to replay past moments, searching for the point of failure, the decision that led her to misjudge your resilience and capacity for growth. Your emotional resilience is now a weapon she cannot defend against. No breakdowns, no desperate calls, no social media implosions. Only stability, only controlled power. She realizes that her exit did not weaken you. It allowed you to consolidate strength. Her anticipation of chaos, of neediness, collapses in the face of your calm. This is the quietest, most devastating form of dominance. She expected a storm and found only sunlight illuminating what she lost. She begins to internalize the truth that her decision has consequences beyond her control. Friends, acquaintances, even casual observers note the contrast between her expectations and your reality. She feels the sting of invisibility. The world no longer orbits around her departure. Your life is proof that her absence does not diminish your significance, it elevates it. Regret, subtle but relentless, takes root in the realization that she overestimated her own impact while underestimating your independence. The emotional leverage she once held vanishes. She attempts to rationalize, to convince herself that your progress is coincidental or insignificant. But the evidence is overwhelming. Your life thrives and she cannot affect it. She may try to provoke responses, test boundaries, or seek attention, but your unwavering detachment neutralizes every tactic. She experiences the frustration of powerlessness, a feeling she seldom encounters and one that is deeply unsettling. You begin cultivating new relationships, genuine, meaningful connections with women who enhance your life rather than challenge it. These interactions are not revenge but illustration. A man who has moved on attracts those of equal or greater value. She notices, subconsciously measuring herself against these new partners, realizing the opportunities she forfeited.